Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm one of your hosts, Madelyn.
I'm your other host, Emma.
And here it is, folks. Our 100th episode. Good joining in on that.
I saw the signal, but was still a little confused.
Tried to do the gigantic head cue. It still only sort of worked, which feels about right. So it's true, including all of our side quests and our main quests, this is our 100th episode, which is a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a long and winding road for Talk This, by which I mean it's been a weekly podcast.
Yep.
And we're excited to take this side quest this week to do something a little bit different and celebrate. So, Emma, should I walk them through? Should I walk our lovely listeners through what we're going to do this week?
Go ahead.
All right. So this week on our side quest, we're doing a trip down memory lane. It's still sort of essentially, just like we have been doing here in Side Quest 4.0, kind of a news magazine, not e-magazine, like a... It's never really, like a news magazine has been a bad metaphor for this throughout, but it's the one that I've been using. It's still kind of a hodgepodge, a collection of various segments. But this time, instead of those 5 segments that we've been using for the past several months, we'll be, like I said, taking a trip down memory lane to all 4 of our old types of side quests.
Heck yeah.
So we'll be starting out today. For those of you who've been with us as listeners since basically the beginning, although the side quests, little known fact, were not originally a planned portion of Talk This.
That's right.
We came up with them very quickly afterwards when we decided that once every other week was probably going to be too infrequent to really get into a rhythm, but that we weren't really ready to commit to originally full-length episodes every week. And here we are now. With side quests that regularly run longer than our full episodes.
Yeah.
So if that's not a commentary on the evolution of gaming over the past several years, I don't know what is.
Okay.
Just kidding. But back in our original side quest format, Emma and I would not talk to each other because we just didn't want to.
Yeah. Wants to talk to each other.
Exactly. You could hear it in her voice how excited she is that this is a simultaneous Talk This broadcast in one location.
It does make editing noises out. I will say that for it. Harder. That's what I meant to say. Makes editing noises out harder.
Because you can't just mute the track.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll hear exactly the situation we're in on this momentous day. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I've started to introduce what it was like 5 times. So let's actually explain this. In that original side quest format, Emma and I each did 5 1-minute like mini rants, basically, about 5 topics of our choice. That was kind of the idea of the side quest, right? They were small, tiny little mini Talk Thises. And each side quest format has kind of grown from there. So Emma, do you want to, and in this case, we will be talking about 1 minute about the podcast and our favorite parts about it and anything we want to talk about on that front. Emma, do you want to explain our second part?
Well, we're going kind of out of chronological order of the way our side quests went, but before we had sort of the what we do now, we just talked about things we had been playing for the past 2 weeks. It was our save data, as we still call it. We've just sort of compressed it and added things to it. But that's what we'll be doing in the second part. We'll be talking about things we've been playing over the past 100 episodes. So we'll be talking about the games we've played since then for the podcast or during the podcast and stuff like that.
Which explains why this is a 5-hour episode.
Yes, that's why it's so long.
We'll be talking in detail about every gameplay experience that we have had.
No, we will be picking our favorites, Madelyn, okay? I know you've played a little bit of like 700 games, but just our favorites.
Speaking of playing 700 games, in our third segment, which harkens back to SideQuest 2.0 days, eventually Emma and I ran out of 1-minute topics that we felt at all interested in ranting about on our own, so we decided that we would switch our side quests to being debate style. So they were head-to-head battle is what we called it, because video game theme, right? And this time, we'll be doing, it's not exactly in the same format, we're loosening the restrictions a little bit, but we'll each have an opening statement, and then we'll have kind of an open debate about what is the optimal number of video games to be playing at one time. So that should be fun. Not too high stakes, not as high stakes as some of our old debates, but we're trying to keep things fun today.
Fun, funky.
But speaking of high stakes, to close out, we have got a bracket for you, folks.
We will be pitting our crossovers. Only 8 of them. We tried to find the 8 best ones we've ever made, and it was a struggle, let me tell you. We'll be pitting the 8 best crossovers we've come up with against each other to come up, and not pitting against, we'll be mashing those
them
crossovers.
against each other.
Well, it's basically, they're just butting heads until they merge into one being. We'll be merging them into another game, and then merging them into another game until it becomes the ultimate new game mashup at the top. The most ambitious crossover event in history.
Which is a shame, because one of our games in that top 8 is already the most ambitious crossover event in history.
Yeah, it'll be something.
So stay tuned for that, folks, because it is going to be epic. All right, Emma, anything else you want to say before we jump into these 1-minute segments?
I'm ready to jump in.
Do you want to go first, or shall I?
You can go first.
Oh boy, oh boy. All right, I have notes and everything for folks, which means that, oh no, I have to type in my password, which means that I am taking this episode very seriously.
For once.
For once. Okay, here we go. Let me get this timer started. Emma, do you want to do the timing honors?
Sure.
All right, here's the stopwatch. Man, I've forgotten how stressful this is. This is 1 minute. I'm going to, spend the first half, 30
Ready?
seconds. Ah!
Set.
Okay.
Go.
Talk This. Okay, so Talk This has been, I can't say enough what a great experience it has been recording these past 100 episodes over almost 2 years. It's definitely been a time of kind of major change in my life, just in terms of graduating from college and moving to New York and all of that stuff. And it's been cool over that time to also make it a time of major change in sort of my cultural output. Because I went at the beginning from playing basically only the occasional multiplayer game over the summer to pretty much now playing on an almost daily basis for the most part. And it's been really, really enriching. It's been such a great way to, talk to Emma every week, and more than that now, 3 times a week for the podcast, and to bond over games and to start sharing games that I love with the people that I love, and to become a regular blogger. I just Talk This has forced me to do so many cool things and get so much more involved in things I think are cool. I'm just really grateful. Talk This.
You went a whole .62.
It's not my fault that your reflexes are slow. Well, I don't know. This is also our Thanksgiving episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, thankfulness was my theme. All right, are you ready for your minute?
So ready. I have no notes, so.
Wow, Emma is taking this less seriously than me, or is just more thoughtful. One of the two. Okay, I'll count it down. 3, 2, 1. Talk This.
So this podcast was originally my idea. I think if you listened to the beginning, you could tell that I was a little bit more gung-ho into games at that time than Madelyn was at that time. But I've been taking a business of games course at college, and my teacher had been talking about, if you don't see the job you want in the game industry or the thing you want to do in the game industry, just make it up yourself. And I was like, well, I don't know if this is something I can get a job at this point, but I can certainly try to get more involved in the games industry in my own way. So I came up with the idea of this podcast. And it's grown a lot since the original days we conceived of it. We talked about it, we came up with plans, we had to buy microphones, it was a whole lot. And since then, I feel like I've gotten even more in touch with how the games industry works, and I feel like I'm actually prepared to try and enter that industry once I graduate college, because I know things about it now. And also other skills, too. So it's helped me become more prepared for the future.
Talk This. See, you finished early and I was just slow.
Whatever.
I feel like that's usually how it always goes.
I slowed down my speaking at the end so I wouldn't finish early.
Yeah. For people who are more interested in kind of those early days of Talk This, the very first post on the blog is kind of an insight into the creation process featuring our earliest text messages about the show
Mm-hmm.
and our meeting at Pete's to decide what the format was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I still have, like, that document somewhere. Because we had, like, other ideas of things that could have made it into the show that didn't ever. And that's for the best.
Yeah.
Really for the best. It became the best version of itself.
I remember having to go on with, like, GoDaddy support to switch the WordPress builder over to our site instead of the GoDaddy builder because we couldn't make it work.
It was not
for
good.
Us. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a real learning and growing experience. And we're also, listeners, because neither of us said this in our 1 minute, thankful for you.
Yeah, listeners.
It's been very cool to have, like, a little Talk This community.
Yeah.
And thanks. Which brings us to our second segment, which I thought was going to be our third segment, but it's our second segment now.
No, because we did the short one, then the longer one, then the short one, then the longer one.
Oh, like Side Quest 4.0.
Yeah. Plus, it just flows a little better that
Oh, man. See, look how much Emma has learned.
way.
Look how much I have learned nothing. And look how much Emma has learned and grown.
So we're going to talk about some of the games we played in the last 100 episodes. And, like, we said this, and then I didn't really think about it until this point, but, like, I don't know.
Good.
What have I been playing in the last 100 episodes? I don't know.
It's weird to think about how many games you've probably played.
I know, right? I got a Switch in that time.
Me too.
I think that's the only new... I think I had the PlayStation 4 before starting this.
You definitely did.
Yeah. So that's the only new system I've gotten. But, yeah.
Well, between the two of us, we've gotten 2 Nintendo Switches, and people, here it is. A PS4.
Wow!
We just got it this week, the early Black Friday sale. It's great. I'm already getting started on the next Kingdom Hearts game that I haven't played. It's really spectacular. And it's been great to test it out on a full-size TV here. Because before I take it back to Talk This NYC HQ, where the television is very small.
You know what? I don't know if I did have a PlayStation 4 before I started this. Because it would have been, spring semester, sophomore year for me?
Yes.
I definitely had the PlayStation 3 fall semester because I was playing The Last of Us my fall semester of sophomore year. And I finished it. So maybe I just gotten it or just got it that summer. But yeah, hard to... That's how long it's been. I don't even know.
Yeah. It's hard to think about, you know. I know that I've invested 80 plus hours into the adventures of Champ McDude. At the beginning of the podcast, I have distinct memories of being in Miami at Wynwood Art Walk. It's like 10 o'clock, and this is an unusual time to get texts from you, because I feel like you used to go to bed at a normal time.
I still go to bed at a normal time.
Okay, you know what I mean, though. Maybe it wasn't even 10, it might have been like 11 o'clock, and it was like a weird time to get a text, and it was just about going to the movies with your friends in Persona. And I was like, I was out and about, and you were like, just like texting about movies, and I'm like, this is weird that I'm getting text messages from Emma. Emma doesn't usually text with punctuation at all.
What?
You for a long time, you were a very flat texter.
Okay.
And it was like, Emma's not mad at you. She just doesn't express emotion in her text messages. But you were very excited to go to the Dark Loaf Rises.
Yeah, the Cake Night Rises.
Cake Night. Oh, I've even seen that one in the game, too. I knew it was a rising joke about...
Yeah, about Batman.
Baked goods. So I've definitely, the Adventures of Champ McDude, as everyone who's been listening over the past year, yikes, not quite a year, but we're coming up close. I really need to make sure that I finish it before the year is out, or that will be embarrassing, just incredibly embarrassing. So I've definitely spent a lot of time with Champ McDude. I've played a lot of Kingdom Hearts games, perhaps not surprisingly, but for the first time. Not only with me, but as a viewer. I know that I've sort of come to appreciate watching people play video games much more. Mm-hmm. You were an early advocate of that, and I always thought it was kind of dumb. Mm-hmm. No offense. Mm-hmm. But it's been nice to, you know, sometimes, especially when I'm tired at the end of the day, it's nice to be like, Clickbait Boyfriend, please play this silly game for me so that I can just watch you play.
Oh, yeah. Over the past 100 episodes, I played 0.2 for the first time, and I think I replayed Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories, and Kingdom Hearts 2 as well.
Well, embarrassingly for me, here we go. Here's my embarrassing confession for people who haven't been listening since Kingdom Hearts is a boy band, or like 13th episode or whatever. I really did used to think the quote-unquote side games were like, they shouldn't be necessary. And, you know, part of me, I feel like if they had stayed on the handheld systems, I would still sort of feel that way. But I've come around. You have to play them all.
They're all fun. So, they take advantage of the other systems to, like, try out new things that they can then bring to the other games. So.
Are they all fun?
Yeah. I think Chain of Memories is fun. Having played it the time over these last 100 episodes, it's really fun. Bosses are really fun. I'll give it to that. Bosses are really fun. The grunt work is eh.
Well, watch for Clickbait Boyfriend's thoughts on that on Tuesday.
Let's see. I'd played a lot of Final Fantasy 15. I know I did that. I played Nier Automata. I played, like you said, I played my own game of Persona 5. Danganronpa V3. Yeah, really a whole bunch of games that are now, like, you know, really important to me, and I think, you know, add a lot to the video game space. I feel like well, maybe I've always been like this, but I feel like I've played less, like, Western games than I have Japanese games, just because Western games have moved more and more towards open world type stuff, I think, and I find that hard to get into. I've recognized that I find open worlds hard to get into, so I try not to buy them anymore unless they're, like, small open worlds, so that's a growth point for me.
Big step forward.
Yeah. Only buy games you're gonna play, kids. Advice from Emma.
See, save that for the debate. Save that for the debate. I've played through a significant number of local co-op games. Overcooked 1 and the DLC. Overcooked 2. We are working our way through The World Ends With You. I've played some of the Fire Emblem in multiplayer, even though it sucks. What else? I've played some Crash Team Racing, as always. It's pretty much, you know, every time in my life. I've played Civilization multiplayer. Just a lot of multiplayer goodness. Which, you know, local co-op. Which is, I think, an important thing that we are, you know, continuing to carry the flag for.
Local co-op, kids. Also important.
It's an important thing to us.
Yeah.
Should have ended my 1 minute thing with just a 5-second cry of, local co-op! We've also, to the disappointment of Mom, played Fortnite together online in different places.
She's disowned us.
We're recording this on the street.
Please help. Just kidding. But I think if we play it too much more, she will disown us. Let's see. I figured out how to use an emulator for Persona 3 Portable.
Wow.
After making a real valid effort to try to buy it on my actual PSP, but it doesn't connect to the internet anymore because it's so old. So you couldn't download it, and to buy it on Amazon, it was like $150.
Is this an illegal thing that you were saying on the podcast right now?
It's fine. People do it.
After that whole huge ROM thing with Nintendo that just got settled?
You know what? I bought Persona 4 and Persona 5, and I made a real valiant effort to buy this. It's just not available. So, Atlas, if you want to release Persona 3, the definitive edition, I will buy 2 copies. How about that?
Wow.
How about that for the deal?
It's on the record. It's on the record.
Yeah, played all 3 new Fire Emblem games that are just one game but are actually 3. Have very strong opinions about how Awakening is better with a male protagonist and Fates is better with a female protagonist. Played Fire Emblem Warriors, that beautiful, wonderful, nonsensical game.
I'm going to talk about Fire Emblem Warriors later, but it has its place. It has its place.
I know it has its place. It's funny.
Go back and listen to our Dynasty Warriors episode.
Yes.
For more thoughts.
Yeah.
I've played astonishingly... No, you know what? I'm sorry. One more that I have to cite. I've played Portal. I'm gonna play more. Clickbait boyfriend keeps bothering me not bothering me. He's listening.
Egging her on.
Just keeps encouraging me.
Yes.
To continue to go back and play some more.
Uh-huh.
And so I will. I got very into Stardew Valley for a while. Was very into Telltale Games for a while. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those days?
Yeah.
Funny days of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played surprisingly few of the games that we've talked about.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's fine. Whatever. We did our research. I watched some of the games.
I would bet that probably overall we've, between the two of us, played more than 50%.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Just because of the games that we put in the hat.
Yeah.
Are the games that we are interested in.
So I've started and not finished an embarrassing amount of games.
We'll talk about that in the debate too, I guess. But that's part of being, that's part of being a person that consumes pop culture. I've started and not really finished a blog series about video games and their TV and film adaptations. Mm-hmm. Someday we'll get back to watch this.
Yeah. Someday I'll make a Some Thoughts in Some Hours again.
Someday the show notes will be written. The show notes will be written, Flashback Fridays will come back on a regular basis. I really have high hopes for the next 100 episodes. I really do.
Yeah.
Emma, anything else about what you've been playing over the past 100 episodes? Any takeaways?
I'm a sucker for games that don't make a lot of sense because it doesn't matter.
Nice.
Logic is not the most important thing in your story in a lot of cases. That's something I've tried to carry into my limited amount of writing that I do also, is not worry about like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense because who cares, honestly, if it's cool.
And after another 100 episodes, what do you hope are the kinds of things you will have played?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine.
It is.
Honestly. I like games that are hopeful at their core, I think. That don't, that look at the world and say, yeah, this is bad, but it's fine. That doesn't mean it'll always be bad. So
I take it that you will not be playing the new Fallout.
No, I will not. I will not be playing that disaster of a game. Where your movement speed is tied to your frame rate.
Who knows, man? In the end, it's just, I was reading, in the end, it's just like, you just have to keep farming nukes. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Well, I hope in another 100 episodes that I have really, taken a deep dive into the PS4 canon that I have missed out on for the last 5 years. And hopefully that I have finished all the games that I'm currently playing.
Champ McDude must see the end to his adventures.
Champ McDude will be on an adventure forever. Champ McDude's adventures will never end, even if his game does. I'll just resurrect him in another game.
True enough.
I'm already
Then you have to get the dancing game, right? And then whatever spin-off they're going to milk Persona 5 for. Persona Q2 is coming out. I kind of want to play it just because it's got the female protagonist in it.
And of course, in the next 100 episodes, hopefully I will have played both Kingdom Hearts 3 and whatever side game comes out after that.
Baby!
They'll inevitably, right?
Okay, but
almost 2 years.
It will have wrapped up the current story. I think that's fine. If they want to keep making Kingdom Hearts games, make Kingdom Hearts games forever. But wrap up this nice story arc.
That's what they've said they're going to do, but the secret movies are just going to be like, just kidding, Donald Duck was an agent of darkness the whole time.
If that's the twist, bring it on.
Yeah, I know. That would be acceptable.
Winnie the Pooh, the true darkness.
Winnie the Pooh is censored. Anyway, I think that pretty much sums up what we've been playing from our save data these past 100 episodes. Crazy. Okay, which brings us to our debate. I was thinking about timing this, but maybe we should just, honor system these opening statements.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
1 minute, mostly because I'm stressed about fitting things into 1 minute.
Okay.
It'll stress me out.
No going on a tangent, Madelyn. That's all we'll say.
That was incredibly rude. That was a personal attack.
That's the character of this podcast, Madelyn. If I stopped doing it, listeners wouldn't understand what they were listening to anymore.
Oh, man. You know what I should do for the 100th, and I'm saying this, and listeners, I will not do this, but you know what I should do, listeners, is compile all 50 Madelyn jokes. into one supercut.
Please, no.
For YouTube.
No. The world cannot handle it.
It would be pretty funny. Maybe I will do that. Maybe that'll be an end of the year gift, listeners.
Sounds good.
A gift. Gift in heavy quotation marks.
Yeah. So why don't you start off our debate? First, what are we debating?
So what we're debating here, listeners, is what is the ideal number of games to be playing at one time? It's a contentious topic, but it's not one that's gonna, leave a rift in the Talk This family, I hope. Well, hopefully we all have our own opinions, so we're gonna leave it... It used to be up to Emma. It was always up to Emma, like, who won.
Yeah.
Which seems deeply unfair.
I'm the editor, okay?
Deeply unfair.
I am the editor.
Okay. So maybe Emma will still decide here who wins, although if I lose, you know why. But you all listeners, let us know if you have opinions, what you think is the ideal number of games. And with that, let me present my opening statement. The ideal number of games to play at a single time, and mind you, I don't mean at a single time as in all at once. That would be ludicrous. But to be in the process of a playthrough of, in a discrete moment in your lifetime, is 9. Let me walk you through. Number 1, the game you actually want to play. Number 2, the multiplayer lazy game. This is your party game. This is their game you play either when you have friends over or when you just want to have a fun time with your respective video game partner, mine mostly being Emma and or Clickbait Boyfriend. Number 3, the serious local co-op game that you are playing to support the development of local co-op games. Goes without saying. 4, the game that you started ages ago and want to finish but you've forgotten the controls. 5, similar to 4, the game you started ages ago and don't really want to finish but feel like you ought to. You're guilty. Maybe someone else in your household wants you to play that game. You know that game means something to them, but maybe you don't want to play it, but you started it. I have a couple of these. Number 6, the brainless game that you can play for 20 minutes at a time. See, Fire Emblem Warriors. Number 7, the soothing game for when you're feeling stressed. See, Stardew Valley. Number 8, Civilization. Number 9, the game you just bought. I rest my case.
Okay, well, I'll save my counters for when we're actually talking.
Rude!
Okay?
That was a counter right there!
What can I say? So, as Madelyn put it, I believe that the appropriate number of games to be playing at one time is 1 per your main systems. So, for me, for instance, my main systems are a PlayStation 4 and a Switch. So it's appropriate for me to be playing 1 game on the PS4 and 1 game on the Switch at once. Now, I don't always follow these rules, but I believe that's the best way to get the most enjoyment out of what you're doing. Like, your dedicated console, the one just sort of sits there, whether that's your computer or your PlayStation or your Xbox, that's the one that you come home at night and you put like an hour into whenever you feel like playing games. Whereas your other one, your secondary one, say your Switch, your Nintendo DS, really just Nintendo consoles in general. I guess if you have a PS Vita, that would also count. Those are the ones that you can sort of play.
No one has a PS Vita.
Fair enough. Those are the ones you can sort of play at like 20, 30-minute stretches. So you can actually you can either play it on your TV if you want to with like the Switch, but you can also get up and move it around and say you sit in the living room for a little change of scenery and put a couple of minutes into it and sort of chill out. But if you have more than 1 game on each of them, then you start getting overwhelmed with all your options and you can never make a decision about what you want to play at one time, and then you get too sucked into one, so you end up not playing the other one anyway, so it doesn't count as playing until you finish the one you're on and go back to it, and then you're playing it again. Yeah, that's my thing, because I was about to get into counters, but I'd rather be that the discussion.
Cross-examination. Do you not consider your computer a main system?
I don't, because I have a Surface that can run like nothing. If you have like an actual computer that can run things, I would count that as a system.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead. Roast me.
Okay. So, like, the multiplayer party game, for instance, I don't really count that as a game you're, like, playing. It's just a game you have and will, like, turn on every once in a while to play with
here's
guests.
what I was thinking, though. Like, the way I was thinking of that was, like, Overcooked versus The World Ends With You.
Okay.
Like, Overcooked is kind of my party game. Like, Josh and I do play that, and we are, like, actually playing through it. Mm-hmm. But it's also sort of, like... I realize Overcooked is kind of hard to think of, like, this is a fun game, because it, like, rips my relationship apart. Yeah. But, like, it's, like, the fun game, as opposed to The World Ends With You co-op, which is, like, that's an actual co-op game.
You know what? I'll make an exception. So, like, if you have a game that you're playing with someone, then that's, like, counts. Like, you can have 2 different games on one system. Like, you have the game that you're playing with someone, and that's what you play with them. But then when they're gone and you want to play a game, then you have your game.
Changing your argument retroactively.
Well, I'm building my thoughtfulness through opening my mind to other people's opinions.
Yes, Emma's intelligence just reached knowledgeable.
Yes.
Okay. Other roasts? I'm open.
Let's see. Well, the game you started again and don't want to finish, just, in my advice, is just drop that game. Resell it or something. Because you're not enjoying it, so why are you doing it to yourself?
But
right?
You have to.
No, you can put it down, you can sell it on Amazon or trade it in at GameStop and get like a whole $2 for it. But whatever, that's $2 you got back from how much time you would spend like hating yourself playing this game.
Here's the thing, though. I think I would grow to like the game if I could get over the hump of playing it.
If you have to get over the hump of playing it, then it's not the right game for you.
Well, then, like, my boyfriend would have given up right after the tutorial of Kingdom Hearts. So, like, let's not... Look, there's a hump that is allowable.
Okay. But that's different because it's, like, a thing that you're sharing, right? You know? It's not just, like, he's just playing it just because, and it's not his thing, and he turns it away, right? It's a relationship thing.
Right, but this game is a relationship thing. What am I supposed to do?
What are you talking? Portal?
It's not Portal. Portal I do actually want to play.
Breath of the Wild?
It's not Breath of the Wild. I started Skyrim.
Oh.
And it's really hard.
I see.
I haven't played it for a long time, but it was only like $5, so I can't give it back to GameStop. They'll give me a penny.
Well, just wait on it. Don't play it right now. Have it, finish one of your games, and then replace it.
I know.
You'll have more time to focus on it.
You're right. Yeah,
I think it's just a balance of like some of these things should overlap. Like the soothing game you play for when you're stressed. Like make that your game on your Switch, for instance. You know?
Sure.
If you only have like one, I guess my rules was a little bit too strict. I was thinking specifically about myself, but I think if you only have like one console, then like 2 games. I think 2 to 3 games is the right one, and you should ideally balance them across your different systems if you have them. That's sort of my thought.
Here's been my problem, though. My problem is that I start games for the show. Like Assassin's Creed, for instance, which I have now gotten back to playing on a regular basis and is pretty fun. Mm-hmm. But, like, I started that for the show when we did that episode. Yeah. And I don't even know when we did that episode.
Not that long ago.
True, but, like, 6 months, right? Like, 6 months ago. And that one took me a long time to get back to because I started it and I was like playing it for the show and it was like, this is fun, like this is okay, but I'm playing other stuff. It's also like my thing here and my argument is you want games that have like different amounts of ideal time spent playing them. Mm-hmm. Like Persona, for instance, if I was only playing Persona, and I know you're not saying one game, but if I was only playing Persona and games like that, I could only play video games when I have, like, minimum a 2-hour chunk. Right. Which is hard. I need to have games that have variable amounts of time.
Sure. I just think that 9 is too many.
Well, Civilization is a non-negotiable. You're basically always playing Civilization, even if you're not playing it.
Okay.
If you own the game, you are always playing Civilization, even if you haven't started a game. Yeah. Because it's always there, waiting for you. Yeah.
I guess, like, the soothing game, that could be, like, your phone game. I guess your phone counts as a system, too.
I don't play phone games.
Well, aren't you special?
I don't think there's anything wrong with people that play phone games. I think phone games are an important part of the gaming canon, but I don't play them.
Well, isn't Madelyn special? Anyway, I guess we didn't really come to a conclusion. I don't know who won. We didn't really debate.
The conclusion
it didn't really count.
It was a debate. We have
it was
two
more
opinions.
of a discussion. So nobody wins. But listeners, what's your ideal number of games? Like, what amount of games do you like to be playing at once?
And why?
Yeah.
Why does it work for you? And what are those games? Listeners, send us your save data.
For real?
All right. This brings us to the epic conclusion of this 100th episode. The one you've been waiting for. The one that will stretch this out for another several hours.
Yeah.
I suggested that we do, like, the first round of this, that we prepare it, and we didn't.
I didn't hear you say that. I heard you say let's prepare the bracket beforehand.
Well, the best laid plans. Alright, people. So if you've listened to a single episode of the main episodes of the podcast, which if you haven't, welcome.
I guess this is a good jumping in place, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that this is a great jumping in place because you get a little taste of everything Talkus has to offer, except the off-topic corner, but your loss.
That's every episode.
True. But at the end of each one of our main episodes, listeners, as you know, we mash together the two games that we talked about that week into one super game to pitch to all of the gaming companies to eventually become a massive success.
Yeah.
And look, some of the games that we've created, I feel like portions of them have eventually made their way into games.
Yeah.
So someone is listening.
We're on to you.
If it's you, call us.
You owe us some money, man.
At least some recognition. Please. Just put our names in the special thanks.
Yes, that would be great.
And frequently we accidentally create games that already exist. We just created Borderlands the other week.
Yeah, we did.
Right? And we sometimes run into issues with games that are either too similar. So, for example, one mashup that we considered including in this bracket, it made it to like our top 12, was the Splatoon of Buddies mashup with Team Buddies and Splatoon 2. However, those games are essentially the same game.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult to create a compelling mashup that wasn't just, here's a new name for this game that we've already made twice.
Yeah.
Also, bring back Team Buddies 2018.
A lot of games also, like, will get one game that really only has, like, one thing about it, basically. And then, like, the one thing doesn't mesh with the other game that we have, so we can't make anything compelling.
This is called the Tetris effect.
Yes.
So as we talked about in our Tetris episode, Fire Falling from the Sky, Tetris is literally, like, copyrighted based on the fact that there are, like, 3 things that make Tetris Tetris.
Yeah.
And that was very difficult in mashing it with, what was it?
Firewatch.
Yeah, it was very difficult because Tetris was way too simple. And Firewatch, in its own way, is very simplistic kind of mechanic. And so it became very difficult to include those into a single game because there weren't that many elements that we could pull from.
Yeah.
So I feel like what we've learned over these 100 episodes, and really these 50 or so mashups, is that games that have some overlapping ideas, but also some very distinct similarities, that was the same thing that I said twice. So games that have some similarities, but also some very distinct differences, and that have a lot going on in each game, tend to create the best mashups. Case in point, our first 2 crossovers are mashups that we're going to be including in this bracket. And don't worry, folks, check the social media. I'll actually create bracket images for this. Is Skater Unknown from the episode Skater Unknown, and the ultimate crossover event from episode Kingdom Hearts is a Boy Band. So I could just say, now listeners, go back and download those episodes and listen to our 10-minute explanation of these games.
Well, you should.
And you should. And that's a good reminder that if any of these games sound interesting, we'd recommend that you go back and you check out the full episode and listen to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in Skater Unknown, here's my little summary. A group of young skateboarding assassins find out that they have a traitor in their midst. So they all turn against each other and must survive through epic skateboarding tricks and cool assassination techniques. There is, of course, a sick soundtrack. You can enhance your weaponry in the city where you skate around through side quests, but you must go to dedicated event spaces to be pitted against each other. Cool freaking game.
Pretty cool. What's number 2, Madelyn?
So, number 2 is our ultimate crossover event. Now, would I say this is a successful mashup? No. But it's certainly tricky. So, in our ultimate crossover event, this is from Kingdom Hearts is a Boy Band, which if you remember this episode, or if you don't, you might remember, either way you remembered, even though I said you didn't remember. Yikes. You might recall or think that it's a little bit difficult to mash up Kingdom Hearts with Final Fantasy 15, given that Kingdom Hearts is already a mashup of the Final Fantasy series with Disney. So we had a hard time mashing them up because, again, you're mashing something that is already in the game into the game.
Yes.
All it would be is like, you're taking... Oh, and I do need to call out that I predicted the selfies. Sora selfies, I predicted in this episode in, like, April 2017. So Square Enix, where's my cut?
Yeah.
Your viral, transparent masterpiece. Anyway, we just decided that instead of that, let's just make Kingdom Hearts crazier. Let's throw in Jurassic Park. Let's throw in Planet of the Apes, Call of Duty, Portal, The Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Minions, American Girl Dolls, Beanie Babies, Star Wars, Marvel. It's the ultimate crossover event that plays like Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
So, this is perhaps our most challenging first bracket, and that's why I wanted to start here. Emma, how might we mash up this Skeeter Unknown with this incredible ultimate crossover?
You add skateboards to the ultimate crossover.
And assassination?
Yeah.
So, walk me through how that might work.
So, it's like it plays like Final Fantasy 15. We decided on that?
We were not clear.
Okay. Well, let's say that we did. Replace whatever the Final Fantasy 15 were with all these crossover things. And replace the world that they're in with more of like a skate park, grunge, punk type of world, right? Lean into that technology focus part of Final Fantasy 15 world. Give them skateboards so that they, instead of running around, they skateboard around.
Good.
Some of them are Chocobo themed, of course. And so you're sort of on a team that's like 4 different sort of franchises, right? So there's like alliances. And then you're like going against the other alliances to determine who's the best. And at the end, there's a really tragic sequence where you all turn against each other to determine who is the best of the things.
So everyone falls to darkness in the end.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts is darkness.
Yeah.
No, it's light. I like that. Yeah, like this is like basically Super Smash on skateboards.
Yeah.
But that would be, people would buy that.
Yeah.
We'll put Waluigi in there.
I'm sure if there's skateboards in Super Smash Bros., Malin would like it better.
I would be significantly more likely to be interested in buying it. There's your market research. Okay, so we have this, like, now it's this battle royale, basically, right?
Yeah.
With various franchised characters on skateboards.
Yes.
I'm into that.
Cool.
Yeah, and you're trying to assassinate each other. It's kind of like, it's like Assassin's Creed with Disney and skateboards.
Yeah.
It's like every game.
Yeah.
All right, I dig that. That's a good crossover. All right, our second group in our round of 8 is Portal to the Abzu. Where, if you'll remember Abzu, one of our more indie games that we've talked about, you just swim through this beautiful world, and Portal, well, you know Portal. So in this beautiful undersea world, there are these portals that have been pre-created, and you travel through the world by doing simple puzzles where you press seashells and change the portals to take you where you want to go. However, about 2/3 of the way through the game, you find out that you are not underwater at all, but in outer space. And the ice cream that you have been searching for the entire game, it's astronaut ice cream, turning the game into a truly tragic experience. So we have that. Oh man, this is a good mashup. On our other hand, we have our mashup from Daddy Barbie, our episode about Dream Daddy, the dating simulator, and Barbie Team Gymnastics. In this mashup, called, we're still working on the title here, it's either Magical Mommy or My Mommy Match. I think I prefer My Mommy Match because it's a nice tongue twister. Mm-hmm. You have met a group of lovely women at a Mommy and Me gymnastics event, gymnastics club. Mm-hmm. And to woo these women, you have to complete matchmaking routines where you press button prompts to win her over. Yeah. So, thoughts?
Instead of gymnastics, it's swimming class.
Perfect. Diving, maybe?
Diving class, yes. And not only do you have to woo the mommies, you have to navigate to your preferred mom through a series of tricky puzzles where you have to go in one place and try to come out the other. And if you turn up by the wrong mom, that mom that you're looking at might get jealous and think that you're interested in that other mom.
So we're just adding a beautiful sort of scenic travel portion.
Yeah.
Okay, so I dig that. Scenic travel with matchmaking and some quick time events. That's a good one. I can move on from there. Do you want to hear our next round of competitors?
Let's do it.
So number 5 comes from, and these are not seeded in any particular order. We have not said that Kingdom Hearts is a boy band's horrible ultimate crossover is our second best one. Don't be fooled. Number 5 comes from Her Majesty, Ms. Pac-Man, our International Women's Day episode. Where we mash together Reign's Her Majesty and the classic Ms. Pac-Man. So in this game, it plays a lot like Ms. Pac-Man, except the ghosts represent each of the influences, each of your advisors, and each time you run into one, you have to make a choice that impacts your levels of approval in each area, just like in Reign's. The king is also going around, Pac-Man, eating things, making decisions on his own. You have to make sure you rein him in, or ultimately, perhaps, decide to eat him, like a praying mantis.
Yeah.
The choices, though, not only do they affect these levels, which might cause the ghosts to search after you, but each choice also has a gameplay effect. So it might cause Ms. Pac-Man to move more slowly, it might cause the world around her to change, it might cause more fruit to appear. So that is Her Majesty, Ms. Pac-Man.
And for our 6th one?
And our 6th one is called Grim Automata from our episode Grim Automata. So this one, I've now realized, is basically zombie Kingdom Hearts Streamed Up Distance, where you swap back and forth between a storyline where you are a living person and a dead person. And every once in a while there are kind of death points or resurrection points where you must switch back in the storyline. But there are some events that you'll only be able to cross through as a zombie, as the dead, or there are some you can only cross through in the living. And basically, every time you have to die or reanimate yourself, there's a dumb point-and-click puzzle. We also raise the possibility of the kind of plot of this game being that you are a travel agent who coordinates travel to alien worlds, and you accidentally start a war.
Yeah. So, how would we mash these together?
Pac-Man is tricky. Pac-Man is a very difficult case because it's pretty simplistic mechanic. So it's going to be a little bit difficult. Maybe your Ooh. But Reign's has this whole idea of you die and you die and you die and you start over as a new queen. So I like that synergy is there for sure. So we might have a Pac-Man level and a zombie Pac-Man level.
Okay.
And as, the living Queen Pac-Man, it basically plays the way that Her Majesty Miss Pac-Man plays. But as the dead Pac-Man, you're laying the groundwork for your next animation.
I see.
So I'm gonna need a little help here because I'm starting to get stuck. How much?
No, that's plenty, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not quite sure how you might lay that groundwork. That's for the prototype.
Yeah.
But we'll flesh that out if we need to.
We're just coming up with concepts. We're not making full game design documents. So.
That's fair. I was in the process of making mine already, but I will stop. And our final competitors in this first round are Yaku Ghosts from our episode about, what was it? It was Yakuza and
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill, right. Where we had a couple of options in this one, but the best one was that you are the ghost of a Yakuza, and in the afterlife, you must build your own Yakuza family within the Yaku Ghosts. Of course, your right-hand man is your ghost chicken, Nugget, and you have to complete all sorts of sort of supernatural side quests to recruit ghosts to your side.
Yes.
Then our final competitor is Nancy of Thieves from our episode on the Nancy Drew series and Sea of Thieves. Nancy is a good pirate captain who goes around taking requests from people and solving mysteries on the high seas. She's a pirate who hunts other pirates and makes sure the pirate laws are upheld. Her boyfriend Ned sometimes writes letters to come home, but she never does.
Yeah.
And finally, there's one traumatic event where we couldn't decide what level of trauma was appropriate. Either one of the Hardy Boys, the only men allowed on your crew, is almost eaten by a shark, and there's a shooting thing where you have to shoot the shark to save him, or I can't say this without laugh. One of the Hardy Boys drowns.
Yeah. Okay, so the mashup. One of the Hardy Boys was actually a Yakuza member.
No.
And when he drowned, he became a ghost. A very vengeful ghost, because he feels like his Hardy brother didn't save him from drowning. So he decides that he is going to build up his ghost Yakuza family in order to haunt his brother. But he soon comes to realize, like, you know, the value of life and that everybody's important, and, you know, he meets a chicken and he doesn't go through with it in the end. He just accepts.
Have we written Nancy out of the story? I'm a little upset that Nancy Drew is gone.
That's true. Maybe Nancy can also see ghosts, and so she's like his one license to the living world.
I like that. I like Nancy being able to see ghosts, and he can also kind of help her with her pirate cases, while at the same time trying to destroy his brother.
Yeah.
So he's a kind of a conflicted main character, flawed protagonist.
That's pretty good.
All right, this brings us to our second round. Let's see if I can adequately summarize these games that we just created.
I know, right?
I should have been taking more notes.
Well, okay, so the Ultimate Skater crossover, Unknown, is a game, like sort of
it's a battle
royale with lots of different people, and you form teams, and at the end you defeat each other.
And you skateboard.
Yeah, and you're also on skateboards, right?
And then we have the very, very, very different. The other set is going to be easy. I was already having ideas for the other set, but this is going to be very difficult. A portal to My Mommy Match.
Yeah.
Where you must, like, you're swimming through this beautiful world to woo women.
Yes. I don't like this very much, but maybe it's like a competitive wooing.
Okay.
Or no, it's like fandoms. Okay? So there's like one, like, shut-in kind of person on the internet, and you're all competing to see which fandom will keep that, like, teenager's attention for that time period.
Alternately, it's like a shipping wars kind of thing.
Yeah, shipping wars the game. Why hasn't this been made yet? Wait, that's great, actually.
All right, help me flesh this out.
Okay, so you are your pairings, which is confusing because sometimes there's like multiple ones of your character also in other teams.
But that's fun. You're like fighting against yourself.
Yeah, and you have to like compete to see like which one is the OTP actually.
So there's a combination of literal like fighting, but also of like within your pair like support conversation kind of stuff. So you can build up fighting power by crafting a better romantic narrative within your groups, because of course you'll have multiple pairs of fighters.
Yeah.
But then you get thrust into the battle royale on skateboards.
Yeah, you gotta be on skateboards.
The skateboards just like can't disappear.
Yeah.
That's fun. I think that, and it's beautiful. You go to romantic locations. It's like The Bachelor.
Yeah. That works pretty well.
All right. Okay, and this other one comparatively is going to be a breeze. Also, I love that it's shipping wars, because that is going to come back in a big way in the final mashup.
Yeah.
Okay, so in our semifinal round on the other side, we have Her Majesty Grim Pac-Man. Her Majesty Grim Automata. Working title. Mm-hmm. Where you play, like, the Her Majesty Ms. Pac-Man, as I explained it, but then there's a zombie flip side where you're crafting that world for yourself when you then enter it.
Yeah. Okay, and then our other mashup is Nancy Sees Yaka Ghosts, or something like that, where you are the ghosty Hardy Boy who's trying to simultaneously, like, help Nancy out with her thing and also get revenge on his brother while building a ghost family for himself.
Great. So this is amazing, because there's ghosts and this living and dead paradigm in both of them.
Okay.
So they're almost too similar, except they're not similar at all.
Yeah.
So I think you play both as Nancy and as this Hardy Boy.
Okay.
So as Nancy, it's a 2D puzzle game.
Okay.
Where, like, you are running around and you have to you have to sail your ship.
Yeah.
Sailing around, because she's not just Nancy Drew anymore, she's Nancy, Queen of the Seas.
Yeah.
And you have to find the clues, kind of in a Pac-Man way, right? It's a 2D game.
Right.
But then every time that Nancy she's in peril or something, it flips to a fully 3D Hardy Boys ghost thing.
Yeah.
Where he is having to do side quests to put the clues up for Nancy.
Yeah.
And at the same time, slaughter his brother.
Yeah. It's a lot, but I think it's got a lot of promise.
It's a high concept, but Yakuza is pretty high concept to begin with.
You're right.
So I think that works, and in the end, you drown him by pulling him under. You pull 2D Hardy Boy into the 3D depths of death.
I don't want to kill the other Hardy Boy.
But he becomes 3D, and then you get to hug, and he's like, "Brother, I missed you."
Oh, okay.
He just missed him so much. That's the only reason he wanted to kill him.
Okay. It's a little messed up.
Because he discovered the afterlife is this fully 3D thing, and he'd only been living in 2D.
Oh, okay, I get it. He became self-aware. I understand.
Okay. This brings us to our final round, people.
And we're not even going to try to give names to these ones.
I can do it. Ultimate portal to my mommy's unknown match.
That doesn't even make sense for the contents of the game.
Shipping Wars, the game.
There you go.
Where you, as we literally just explained, you have your ships and you strengthen them through interpersonal romance, and then you literally fight them like Pokemon.
Yeah.
And on our other side, the game I just explained 30 seconds ago, but I'm going to explain it to you again, listeners, where maybe I can't even, where you play 2D Nancy Drew and then your 3D Hardy Boy, setting the clues for her and also causing mischief for your brother.
Yeah, Nancy above, Hardy below.
Nancy in the front, Hardy in the back.
Yeah. Something like that. So there's
where to begin?
There's some ships.
There's ships in both of them.
There's some violence in both of them.
There's some iconic pop culture characters.
Yeah, I'm kind of. It's there's too much stuff now, right?
Yeah, there's too many options. There's too many things to pull from.
The ships are Nancy and the ghost Hardy Boy and Nancy and the living Hardy Boy. And both these ship pairs have different abilities that they can use to fight the other ship pair. And they are also on ships.
Right. So Nancy is she can travel between realms.
Yeah.
Where are the lesbians?
Sorry.
We've lost them. Adaptation decay.
God, where'd the lesbians go?
We've defaulted to a hetero
pairing.
pairing.
You're right. I wasn't thinking about the lesbians. That's my bad.
Be the Bobbsey twins instead.
Sure.
Do the Bobbsey twins solve? I don't think they're detectives.
I don't know. Are they even adults?
It's an important thing to check on. No.
So maybe it's not the Bobbsey twins.
Okay. Not that. Okay.
At the end of the game is actually Nancy saying, actually, it turns out that I am a lesbian.
No. Better option.
Okay.
And better representation. Nancy is actually Drew.
Oh, I see.
Now we've erased the women, but...
Who needs them? Right? Games sell better without women.
Or maybe Nancy was Drew.
Okay.
And now is Nancy.
Okay.
Is a male pirate, and now...
We're still missing lesbians, I would just like to point out.
Okay, we've included now some transgender.
Okay.
This is, not a good way. This is horse trading my representation.
Nope.
But, okay. This is really hard, people. There's too much going on. Okay, there's gotta be skateboards.
Skateboard ships.
Okay. Go on.
So, there are these rolling ships, right?
Okay, so it's like steampunk now.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are these rolling ships, and one of them, there's this legend of a ghost ship out, ghost rolling ship out there.
Okay.
So Nancy and the surviving Hardy Boy decide to go out to find this ghost ship because it's been causing trouble for people. okay? And along the way, they meet lots of colorful characters that they have to go through a beautiful world in order to talk to all these different characters. That includes...
Okay, so Nancy has to woo her crew.
Sure.
Nancy has to, like, wins over this, like, badass female crew by wooing them. Sort of as friendship wooing.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll let the shipping people, shippers can...
Yeah.
Okay. And you can build up Nancy's relationship with these various women.
Yeah.
And that, like, powers up your ship.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. That's much better. I think that's much better than the one we started with. It's still a little...
We're still missing some... And those women are from various franchises.
Yeah.
Iconic women from these various franchises. Okay. It's a beautiful environment that you sail through to woo these people. But sometimes... when you play as the dark Hardy Boy, you have to change the environment. So sometimes it's very stunningly beautiful 3D art. Sometimes it's pixel art. Sometimes it's like a 2D Pac-Man. And there's these different realms that you have to go through. As you're also sort of playing, although you might not realize it, as this ghost ship. That is changing the world to make it possible for Nancy to find it. So that the Hardy Boy and his band of hardy ghosts, which maybe he's been wooing, maybe he's been gathering the dead male characters to his crew.
Of classic franchises.
And then they can all be reunited. The Hardy brothers are reunited. Everyone meets their friends again.
Lovely.
Ned still wants Nancy to come home.
Ned just keeps writing letters. Nancy!
Did that get it all?
That's pretty good. If we missed some things, I'm happy with that, because that is a pretty good, solid kind of thing that could actually work, maybe.
That's a bold statement, but I would play it.
Yeah.
Disney 2003?
Just for the
give us
novelty.
a call. You know?
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that Disney 2003 would be into.
Yep.
Be like, sure.
Sounds good.
If anything, it'd be I was gonna say great, but I changed my mind. It would be really bad fan fiction.
It really would.
So.
And that's all this podcast is.
Really? Pretty much.
Really bad fan fiction.
Whew. That was exhausting. But you know what? I really feel like that honed my crossover muscles. Here we are in hour 3.
More like hour 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I really honed my crossover muscles there. I feel confident that the one next week will be terrible.
Yep.
Even though I did that.
Well, we have we do have a full episode next week. What are we talking about? Who knows?
Would it be an episode of Talk This if we knew what we were talking about next week?
No, that's the classic thing, you know, right? Yeah.
It's a gimmick at this point. Even when we do know, we're not going to tell you.
Yeah, go back and listen.
You know what? I do think I sort of know, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. If you liked this episode, why don't you leave us a like and a review? Celebrate our 100th episode with us by leaving us a review on the podcasting platform of your choice. We'd like Apple Podcasts because that can be really helpful, but if you want to just leave it on the one you listen to, that is also equally wonderful.
But maybe let us know that you've left it there because it's harder for us to check.
Yeah, leave us a note in our comment form on our website telling us about the review or anything else you think about this episode. Tell us what we're talking about next week, if you want to remind us. Subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Our website, as I mentioned, talkthispodcast.com. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at talkthispodcast, and on YouTube as Talk This Sisters.
We didn't get to do a traffic report this week, but there's a lot of good stuff up on the blog, and I think even that Clickbait Boyfriend gone viral. It was on the YouTube these past 2 weeks.
Viral?
For us.
Got a whole 100 people to watch it.
You know what? That is more people than have ever looked at Clickbait Boyfriend in his life.
Fair enough.
So, give him this.
Okay.
But definitely check out, there's some great content on our website from these past 2 weeks. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. It's the middle of a holiday weekend, and we are so happy to have spent even a little bit of this holiday weekend with you. We do this for ourselves, but we are really doing it for you, the listeners, and we are so thankful to have you listening to our wild rants for 100 episodes. And here's to 100 more, and 100 more after that.